black Dickie shirt, jeans, boots, and a camo hat. That's not what they expect.
Real Estate Investing Profits presents Profit Masters with your host, world-renowned real estate coach and investor, Corey Boatwright. Now, strap in and get ready to learn elite wealth-building investment strategies taught by 6- and 7-figure house flipping masters as they reveal their best real estate investing profit secrets to you right now.
What's up, my party people? This is Corey Boatwright. I am your host and founder of Real Estate Investing Profit Masters. I hope you are having a fantastic, phenomenal, incredible, blessed, grateful day. I am excited, like I always am, talking to incredible guests, and I am not going to disappoint you today. This guy is such a cool dude, and he is so successful and such a driver. I have so much respect for him in so many different ways. And I am talking about none other, the man, the myth, the legend, Aaron Chapman. He is not your ordinary loan officer, although he does loans in Alabama and Arizona and California and Louisiana, Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, Missouri, Nevada, Tennessee, Washington. The list goes on and on and on. He is with Security National Mortgage Company, and they are absolutely just crushing it right now. The amount of testimonials just on their snmc.com page, SN is in Nancy, M is in Mary, C is in Corey.com page is it's just really staggering. And rightfully so. Aaron has come from some really interesting roots, and he is going to share some things today that I think you're going to really love. And the guy's just got a big heart. You got just an amazing family. His wife, been with him for 22 years, 4 kids. Teaches them about has a financial education, and really does some cool things in their lives to teach them to be a good steward of what they have. And you're going to love the story today. And you're also going to want to work with Aaron. If you have fix and flips, if you had deals you're working on, he is the man. So make sure that you check out this interview and take some great notes. I think you're going to absolutely love it. Also, if you haven't, text the word profit to 38470 to download your Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide. That is 38470. Text that right now, the word profit to 38470. It will be magically downloaded to your phone or to wherever you put it in at. All right. So without any further ado, Mr. Aaron Chapman. Aaron, what's going on, my man?
What's up, Corey, man? Good to see you, brother.
Hey, you too, man. You too. Looking good, looking original as always, man. I'm always pumped to talk with you because, the things that you're doing is pretty incredible. And I want to go through that right now. But, I think that those that cannot see you right now, they may be in a little bit of a shock because you're not the normal business guy, broker, not the typical kind of person that people would think like, oh, wow, that guy does that much business. He's that successful. And I love that about you because you're so unassuming, but yet all you care about are just results for your customers. So I want to start out with thanking you for being on and taking the time to be on here because I know that you are constantly working to get results for your clients. I'm going to give you a platform to talk about that because I know there's people listening that definitely need your service. So why don't we start out here, Aaron? What is it right now that you're focusing on in real estate investing, specifically working with real estate investors?
Well, for the most part, I thank you for the introduction. As like you said, people won't be able to see me, or at least a lot of them won't be able to see me on this. And I come from an angle that I don't want people to, be ready for what they're going to see if they've never seen me face to face when I come to an event and speak. Because when they hear a real estate investment banker is going to show up, they're thinking the suit, the short hair, they have a certain picture in mind. And then this guy walks on stage with a braided beard that's got to be, it's probably pushing 24 inches long now. Black Dickies shirt, jeans, boots, and a camo hat. That's not what they expect.
No.
So, and my method there is really to bring the expectations very, very low. When people say, Chapman, you're the best, I'm like, no. You only tell people I'm mildly entertaining or mildly tolerable. I can live up to that every single time. And that way I can hopefully become the best when you have that low expectation. We've all seen an awesome movie trailer, right?
Right.
And then you go to the movie, you pay I don't know if it's like $10 a ticket now or $15 a ticket. You sit down, you pay for the overpriced popcorn and the drink, and you finally get to the movie. It's like, that sucked. Your expectations were wrong.
Right.
So I always go into every movie thinking it's just going to suck, and I'm actually pleasantly surprised. So when you talk to me, just think I suck beforehand. As long as we're all agreeing to that, it works out.
I think the self-deprecation is something that you do as you're being humble. But I do want to talk about what's going on in your business right now. What made you want to be involved with real estate investing and in this business right now of what you're doing? Why don't you tell everybody what you're doing right now and how you're helping investors?
So what made me want to get into real estate investing is, when I got in the industry, I came from the mines in New Mexico in 1997. I literally it was at a point, I've heard somebody say, we're actually at the CG event together last December, where the guy, the keynote speaker said, when you get in the mortgage industry, it's because you can't get a job anywhere else. And it was true. I could not find a job. I was laid off in the mines in northern New Mexico. My wife and son were here in Arizona. And I was looking for jobs, and I kept getting denied for being overly qualified. I went to apply for a job as a truck driver at a landscape materials company for $10 an hour. Wow. And they turned me down. And I sat in their parking lot in my pickup. I had a little Isuzu pickup, and I was crying in the pickup, right? So I leave to drive home, and I had a coupon for diapers with me because we couldn't afford them. And I had to get diapers for my infant son. And as I'm driving down the road, the light comes on, warning me that the gas was low on my truck. So I found a grocery store that had a gas station out front, pulled up, slid my credit card, my debit card, because I didn't have a credit card at the time, and I got a decline. And I had no cash. So I started walking the parking lot. Well, at that time, gas was like 80 some cents a gallon, if I remember correctly. And I walked for a couple hours, found enough change to get a couple gallons of gas to get home, went inside the grocery store, found the diapers corresponding to the coupon, got my diapers. As I'm exiting, I come face to face with the guy who used to do all the dispatch work and the scheduling at a company I ran heavy equipment for. He asked me how things were, and I went ahead and explained it. And I was down. I was in bad shape. He said that he was in this thing called the mortgage industry because he had left the whole equipment company thing. He said he had a gift certificate, it was before gift cards, to Red Lobster, and he was going to take me and my wife to dinner the next night. We went to dinner. He explained the industry as best he could, because all I understood about mortgage was somebody, an old man, an old lady on a TV show losing the farm to this thing they couldn't pay called a mortgage. That's all I knew. It was a very, very derogatory word.
Right, sure.
Well, he introduced me to some folks. I cut a foot off my hair. I got some clean clothes, and I started as a telemarketer in 1997. Well, since then, working in this world, you work with first-time home buyers, and you go into the late 90s, early 2000s, where if you wanted a home bad enough, all you had to do is bitch long enough, and you got it for free, and you didn't have to qualify. Well, I started to understand the real estate investor coming into the market before it crashed. It basically crashed. And it was a whole different conversation. It was no longer emotional. It was very nuts and bolts. And then the real estate investor coming in after the crash, being able to come in and really clean up a lot of the mess, take advantage of the lower prices, but make housing not completely vaporized, right? So that got me very interested in real estate investment at that point. So I went from there to understanding everything I could about the real estate investor. And from 2009, after the crash, coming back into this world, just focusing solely on those who are underserved by the banks. Mm-hmm. The banks being like the Fannie and Freddie, the big banks, Wells, Chase, Bank of America, all those guys. They have proven that you can take a monkey out of a cage, give it a phone and training, it'll close loans. But they do not understand the real estate investor. That's where I target it, because that's the hardest type of loan to do, period. Once I understood that and started really focusing on it, I went from struggling to close 100 transactions a year. No, 10 loans a month is a big deal in our industry. The average person closes 2.5 transactions per month. And that's industry wide. There's 300,000 of me out there, licensed loan originators. Last year I closed 707 because I focused. Jeez. I've got a team of 15. And our focus went from, hey, I can do a loan, to we're talking about a person looking to build a real estate investment firm. They're no longer a consumer. Your real estate investor is not a consumer. Consumers thinking, oh, I'm going to start spending money and going into debt here for this real estate. A business owner is saying, I'm going to make a minimal capital investment into my business, and I'm going to take on a partner in the form of a loan. That loan is going to provide 80%, sometimes 85, 75, somewhere in there, the bulk of the capital necessary for start my business. But what's interesting, most partnerships require a percentage of ownership in the business based upon the percentage of capital you injected, correct?
Correct.
So if you and I start a business together, let's just say I made you some pizza, homemade pizza. Like, Aaron, you got the best pizza I've ever had. Start a business. I'll put up 50% of the capital, right? So let's just say we decide it's 40 grand to get it going. You put in 20 grand. I put in 20 grand. Okay. How much ownership in the business do you have at that point?
50%.
50%. How much do I have?
50%.
50%. How much of the voting rights do you have?
50%.
And I have 50%. How much of the profit do you get?
50%.
50%. And when it doesn't go right, though, you get to do 100% of the bitching, correct?
Right.
Right? And I'm going to come up with 100% of the excuses. And when you put money into a business like that, where is your money at? Where's your 20,000 the second you put it in there?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, it's at risk, right? So
it's vaporized. It's spent. Yeah. We bought sauce. We bought dough making materials. We put a deposit down on a space. Right. All that 40 grand is gone.
Yeah.
Right? So we talk about a cash on cash return model a lot in the real estate investment world. That's a true cash on cash return model. You put the cash in, and I have to sell pizzas to get cash back, right? And if I don't sell pizzas, all you're going to get is you're going to get a freezer full of dough and a freezer full of sauce and some pepperoni. You're going to be eating pizza for the rest of your life. But if it works, you start getting some cash till eventually you get your 20,000 back, right?
Right.
And now at that point, now you have 50% of a successful business that's going to continue to pay those dividends.
Right.
But if it vaporizes and fails, it's gone. Now, in the real estate investment world, I help real estate investors wrap their head around the fact that you didn't spend money. You didn't go into debt. You took on a partner who's willing to put up the majority of the capital. They got zero ownership, they got absolutely none of the profits. They got an agreed upon amount for 30 years.
Right, 30-year fixed, right.
You put up 20% of capital, you take on this partner, now you have this asset, and you literally take on somebody who's going to pay back your partner for you, right? And then they're going to pay you most of the time some cash flow on top of it. Can we do a quick little bit of math? And it's going to be simple math. It's math that even I can do, right? I had one client one time, I started asking these questions. He's like, whoa, I've got a doctorate in mathematics from Dartmouth. I'm like, I'm not trying to test you here, dude. This is you and me get on the same page. So that's why I make it simple, because I can't always have a Dartmouth guy on the phone. I have to have people like me on there too.
Right.
So if you're buying $100,000 property and putting 20% down, what is the dollar amount of that down payment?
$20,000.
$20,000. So that means you're going to be financing 80%, correct?
Correct.
What is 80% of 100,000?
80% of 100,000 is 20,000. 80% of 100,000 is 80,000.
See, even the simple math gets tough, right? Because I'm talking to Corey freaking Boatwright. You're thinking millions all the time. I'm bringing this down like 4 decimal points off of your bank account. I get it.
80% of 100 is 80,000.
Exactly, $80,000. So, and let's say you're going to have a tenant in there paying off your 80,000, right? Because they're paying the rent.
Right.
And what if and they're going to pay it off over 30 years for you, correct?
Yep.
What is 80,000 over 30 years? How much per year?
I mean, if you look at without having compound interest and everything else involved, like
just a simple 80,000 being paid off over 30 years, how much per year is that equal to?
It's gonna be
I got the number in my head if you want me to just pitch it out there.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's $2,666.66 per year.
Okay.
Okay. So you divide that into the 20% you put down. That means somebody's paying it down by that over the average of 30 years.
Right.
That means every year your 20,000 is increasing by 13.33%, regardless of cash flow. That's just somebody amortizing the loan for you.
Sure.
So literally your 20,000 over 30 years becomes 100,000. How many stock accounts are doing that? 13.33% of the original amount every year.
Not very many, man.
Not very many, right? So now what is happening to the dollar's value with inflation today?
Going down.
How much?
It's a good question. I mean,
I know I'm hitting you from the side here.
Dollars, what is it worth now? Maybe 80 cents, 70 cents?
Oh, heck about less than that if we're going to go backwards far enough. So they say that the government's been saying since the 80s that they've kept inflation within a 2% range, right?
Yeah.
That's the CPI, right? But if you get into something, look up shadowstats.com as in shadow statistics. Shadowstats.com will add back in the things that they took out. And it puts us at a 5 to 7% at any given time is where our inflation is at, meaning our dollar is losing on the average 5 cents in value every year.
5 cents a year. So
right?
what's it worth now? What's $1 worth now?
That's a question. I'm not sure. It's probably like 30 some cents. I mean, it has declined so significantly from when they started tracking that.
I thought it was a little higher.
Because it's a compound. Because think about it, it's a compound effect of 5% since the 80s, right? So, and it's probably even further back than that. But that's just going off of since they changed how they're coming up with the CPI numbers. Right. So if we're losing 5% per year in actual dollar value, right? So where that is a big deal to us as investors is we can raise rents to pace inflation. You know, the average right now is about 3.6% when you're considering apartments and single families and multi-units out there. They're raising rents on the average and across the country about 3.6%. So let's just say our investors, yours and mine that we work with, will raise it at 3%. That means it's a 3% compound growth on the rent amount. If it's $1,000 a month, you're raising it by 3% per year every year. So you're seeing a compound, right? But a 30-year fixed note, do they get to raise the payment on you to pace inflation?
Oh.
No, it's fixed.
Yeah.
They agreed to that for 30 years. So that means you're paying them back with a dollar that's losing 5 cents in value every year at a compound rate.
Right.
So as you're paying it back with less and less and less, but you're charging more and more and more for the rent, you as the investor keep the spread. So not only are you getting 13.33% on the amortization of the note, but then you get the spread on inflation and paying them back literally with nothing by about year 14. That's before we got into cash flow. You add in cash flow, that's the cherry on top of the sundae. And then we can get into appreciation. We can get into massive tax benefits to the real estate investor. It's no longer a cash on cash return that you're seeking of say 10 to 12%. This is hundreds of percent return on your initial investment. You got to look at the right way.
Right.
Too often, many of the investors get sucked into the pro forma analysis, right? How many times have you had people come to you and say, well, I'm looking at this pro forma and it doesn't look like anything like what I got from the lender?
Blue sky. From pro forma is, trying to put your best foot forward, but I mean, it's nothing near usually the actuals.
And that is 100% true in many ways. So I've got a client of mine who is the professor of accounting at Kennesaw State University. He connected with me because he heard a podcast that I was on. He's like, I need you to come out and talk to my students. He said that he tells his students that pro forma is Greek for made up. Because that's what it is, right?
That's right?
What I tell a lot of my clients, when you're looking at a pro forma, you don't use those to analyze different houses between different sellers. What you do is you figure out, one, as the CEO of your business, who do you want to run your business as the boots on the ground in an area? Then once you determine who you trust, you get all the pro formas from them and use that to analyze which property you would accept from them, knowing that their math is all the same for all the houses. It's just going to help you decide which house. And then once you're done picking that house, you take that pro forma and burn it because it's nowhere applicable anymore.
Right.
Because the numbers on there, they are actually extremely low. They will say that you're going to expect this kind of cash flow. That's typically high. That part's high. They're
Right.
going to say this is what your interest rate's going to be. That way's low because they're going to show you the best rates that's ever happened in the last 10 months, right?
Right.
But what it really does is it tells you a cash on cash return. And the cash on cash return model, as we've proven, is really kind of erroneous in this world because you didn't risk the 20 grand. You just moved it from a liquid account to a non-liquid asset.
Right.
Then when you understand all the other factors that play with real estate investing, the amortization of the loan, how inflation is actually just eliminating the debt for you, the fact that you get to get cash flow on top of all that, and then you have to get the tax benefits, and then you get potential appreciation. It's hundreds of percent return. The performance is completely useless. It is a selection tool only. So once a person wraps their head around that, it changes the dynamics of how they go about investing.
I was looking at you got me curious now on the inflation, and the first time it was 1913 where $100 the first inflation measurement started. And then fast forward up till 2019, it's $100 today is worth $2,529. So that's a huge.
Okay, so the inflationary environment of what the dollar. So when you start considering the cost of living, though,
cost of living, world inflation that they had. I mean, they had a lot of different things, but to your point as well, that the Fed's target at 2% core inflation rate. So the 2% core inflation rate, and basically what will happen is that as long as the prices basically increase and rise 2% a year, the economy grows, at that rate. So whenever you're getting a fixed rate, right? I mean, you're talking about, you're talking about some big opportunities for you as the investor to capitalize on these deals. Because one, you're having your tenant obviously make this payment. Two, you're going to be raising the price every year, most likely for the cost of your rents, right? So you have some big you get some big upside when you're working these deals.
Exactly. And as you just pointed out, if we go all the way back to when they started tracking it take how many thousands of dollars? $2,200?
$2,500. So basically $100.
It takes $2,500 to equal 100.
In 1913. Yes, that's right.
Yep.
2,500
Yeah.
equals 100. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically $25 per. Yeah. So it would take $25 to equal $1 back then.
Yes, right. 25x.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting. It's interesting to see that particular thing. So, and then you go add in taxes. That's the other thing, guys. Think about the tax implications here. Taxes, I don't know. I would love to see the statistics on this, but I'm guessing if a person is active with their capital, it just has to change hands 4 or 5 times and taxes evaporate that dollar. It's no longer in existence after you've exchanged hands 4 or 5 times, depending upon what for, right? If I'm paying, you got payroll taxes, you got income tax, you got sales tax, you got property tax. By the time it changes hands, not very many times, it's gone. It went into the system and it has to work its way back out through a government channel. The other thing you consider when it comes to taxes is a real estate investor, I've noticed, because of depreciation capability and be able to write off interest, that the more that you have in the real estate investment world, you're creating jobs, you're creating housing. Because of that, the less you have to pay in taxes.
Right.
The uneducated will say that's tax. You guys are evading taxes. You're not paying your share. No, it's actually wrong. That real estate investor has taken upon themselves to create housing and create jobs. Therefore, they don't have to put their money into the tax system because they're already creating what needs to be created. They have been given the freedom to choose where to put their money instead of those who choose to sit at home, watch TV, and spend it on personal crap, who end up having to pay taxes so they can maintain the infrastructure of the U.S. because they're not doing what the real estate investor is doing. They're not providing jobs and housing. They're providing for themselves and their own selfish wants. The real estate investor has now created freedom to themselves to decide where their tax dollar goes. That's a big damn deal to really wrap your head around.
Yes,
to become a real estate investor and keep those that tax dollars, that means you're trusted to deploy those same funds where it benefits the whole, not just your own selfish self.
It's interesting that essentially what you're doing is you have created a niche, Aaron, working with real estate investors in the mortgage industry. And most mortgage brokers don't understand working with real estate investors the way that you do. And not only that, is that there's people listening right now that find they have deals and they need to sell those deals, or they need to buy more properties, or looking to buy more properties, and they have roadblocks that they're hitting. They have DTI roadblocks. They have how many loans that you can have for certain places that you're looking at, and they look at your credit and all these other things. What you've been able to do is create a niche where you understand the mindset of a real estate investor, what they go through, what they're considering. And now you've been able to communicate that with groups of banks that you've worked with, and groups of people that you work with on these mortgages, that they now also will work with you because you have such a success track record, bringing them more and more deals. My guess is you're doing a lot of deals with some of the same people because you're building those relationships with them.
Well, it's all about the relationship, right? And so how I look at that is, if I've got a person who's become the CEO of their real estate investment firm, that first phone call, I'm trying to be the CFO.
Sure.
Right. So, and what I mean by CFO is not so much a guy who's doing the paperwork. It's the guy who's sitting at the board table and having a very solid discussion about what you can do with your finances to be able to acquire that financing and really capitalize on things.
Right.
It's an advisor position. Have you heard the term good judgment comes from experience and experience comes from bad judgment?
Right. Sure.
Well, the experience is, to me, the most thorough instructor, but the most expensive.
Yes.
And the highest risk.
Right.
So the problem with a person, a real estate investor, trying to get all the experience they need to be a good investor is their failure has to happen. I don't want that. What I can do is I say, I've done thousands of deals for real estate investors. I know where they've failed. I know where they've succeeded. When you come to me, you call a board meeting, let's talk about your next idea, and I will tell you who screwed that up and what not to do, but it's up to you to execute it. You're the CEO. You make the decision. I can only give you practical data. I will never theorize. I'll never speculate. And if I am theorizing and speculating, I'll tell you that's pure theory. Because theory is unproven, right? I walked through a meeting one time. There's three guys sitting at a table talking about time travel. And somebody mentioned, well, Einstein proved that with his theory of such and such. Michael, he proved what? He goes, the time travel. Like, no, he didn't. He goes, well, what do you mean? They use Einstein. It's like, if he proved it, he would be standing right here telling us he proved it. He didn't prove it. It was a theory. Albeit a beautiful theory, right? Everybody's going to hold him Einstein in high regard, but it was a theory because it hasn't been proven yet.
Right.
But I will not do that. I will give you actual practical data. I've seen where that success is. So that's what makes me different than the rest of the world. I am so damn interested in the success of my investor partner that because it affects us as well. I was just on the phone with the head of my corporate accounting, as well as not really accounting, it was servicing department. He says, of all the loans I've done here, there's only one that has a delinquency on it. It wasn't even my loan. There's another guy who left. I just took it over because I was licensed in the state. Every single one of my investors is paying their bills because they don't want to lose out on the great opportunity. Once they understand this is a great opportunity, they pay the bill. So like you said, we have a proven track record. It's always proven because I don't let people get into stuff that's going to screw them over because it eventually screws me.
Mm-hmm. Well, the relationship is such the core component of this, and that's why you're able to do 700 deals, and the average mortgage broker is able to do 20 deals a year, maybe. So you're able to do, literally you're crushing everybody else. You're doing 30, 40 times, the average person. And that comes from you understanding the mindset and the game of working with real estate investors. So what is it that you've dealt with that's a bit of a challenge? I think people will want to hear that is, what is it that you are dealing with? There have been some challenges, and how have you overcame them? Maybe just one of them that's real common that investors go, oh yeah, I've dealt with mortgage brokers. I've dealt with them before. They're all the same. What is the challenge that you've dealt with recently and you've overcame it?
Oh, the overwhelming challenge, of course, is getting them to ignore the pro forma, use it as just the tool that it's there for. But we already addressed that one. The other one is we already addressed the other one of spending money and going into debt. They're so interested in what's my best interest rate. So let's talk about that. The rates went up when the Fed chairman and the Federal Reserve got together and said we're going to do quantitative tightening as of December 2017. We got used. We had a whole generation of people for the last 10 years. They're used to phenomenal rates. Well, I had a client buying a home in 2 properties actually in Memphis, Tennessee. Same rents, same price, same street, same floor plan. The only difference was one was almost done and the other one had yet to break ground. Well, when we closed the one in December 2017 at 4.75% interest rate, 30-year fixed.
Wow.
May of the next year came around and it was now 5.75. That 1% on that price point was equal to $59 and change difference in cash flow, nearly $60 a month. So actually, no, it's $49 and change, almost $50 a month. Because he was saying, hey, I'm losing $600 a year here. He goes, I'm going to back out of property too. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Why are you backing out? He goes, well, $600 a big deal. I'm spending the exact same amount of money, but I'm getting $600 less return. Like, wait a minute. Okay, let's get back away from the spending money thing. We've already determined that's not it. So let's go backwards into our mindset. Do you mind if I play CFO for a minute? He goes, sure. So we went back into the mindset and he got it, but he still had a hard time with it. I said, here's what I need you to do. Go talk to your CPA. Ask him what is the difference in the taxes you would pay on the one with the higher cash flow versus the lower cash flow at your tax rate, federal and state. Then ask him what is the tax deduction difference you get for property 1 with the higher interest versus property 2 with the lower interest, or property 1 with the lower interest versus property 2 with the higher interest with your tax rate, federal and state, and come back to me. By the time he was done working all that out, it started out on the cash flow side as just under $50 a month difference in cash flow. But when he's done after his taxes are done, it was $3.55 per month because of the tax deductibility. So it gets back to, it doesn't matter. All these things that every other lender is selling is trying to get your butt in the seat. That's the movie trailer. They want you to come in because they just want to close a deal. My job is to help you tear that crap out and put the right wiring in. I tell everybody they need to go listen to Dr. Joe Dispenza, his TEDx in Tacoma. I'm going to send you the link. It talks about
show notes too. And I was just saying before you kept going that I've had the experience before where they just try to get you in too. It's like they just try to get you to sit down and just get you at the table, but they can't produce anything, right? And
they can produce a rate and cost, which everybody can produce. We all get our money from the same place. Right. It's a matter of how do you build your business. And then, we talk about, Dispenza talks about in that TED Talk, what goes on in your brain when you have an idea and the connection of neurons and how you talk yourself out of a good idea. Right. My whole goal is to have everybody watch that 2 or 3 times. And then when they're done, now they understand why we're told by our religious leaders, by our parents, by our teachers to guard our thoughts. Now you got to, not only do you guard your thoughts, but now you have to know why to guard your thoughts, and it's easier to guard them. Now, give me a second. I got to grab something out of my bag. My battery's dying here. But so the Dispenza thing, as we were saying, is that you've got a, he shows you how it wires in, what the actual physiological response is. And he does it in real time with like an electron microscope. And then once you understand it, you have a better way of controlling those thoughts. And then you feed it with good data. So that's the main thing, is not only do I want everybody to understand what's going on between your ears, right? But also we want to reinforce it with good information that once you have that great idea, once you understand what you're doing as a real estate investor, you reinforce it with good information. So you got to be cautious of who you listen to. You can't just run around listening to everybody who puts an advertisement on the internet. There's a lot of stuff out there designed just to sell you. We got to be cautious with that because you sometimes only have one shot at this.
What's one big lesson that you've learned to get to where you are, man? Because it's so impressive that you're doing so many more loans, right? And obviously a pretty big proponent of that is how you think, right? It's a mindset. What's a lesson that's got you to where you are today?
Persistence.
Okay.
I have found, I answer the phone a lot of times when people ask me, they call up and say, hey, how you doing today? I was like, I'm out running that foot that's trying to kick my ass today, which is what it is. Every single day we're in danger of getting an ass whooping, right? And I think that's the last real form of natural selection left in our environment, in the business environment, is those who get kicked and get up and keep running again, and those who stay down and lick their wounds. I've noticed that a lot of people, when they take a beating, sometimes they disappear for a while. You don't see from them. They finally emerge back on the scene trying to get their business built back up. Right. Just keep going. Who cares that you take a beating? We all have to take one, right? And as you're taking one, remember, other people are taking it too, because I'm in the same industry with them.
Right.
It's just a matter of whose mind is going to be focused enough. When I realized that, and I came to that conclusion, I actually found that I think differently, I react differently to it, and I don't even feel them anymore. It could be just a lot of scars on my ass, but it really just gets to the point where I don't feel the beating near as bad.
Right.
Because I focused on what my goal is. And my goal stopped being an income goal. It stopped being what does Aaron need goal. I've got to be, the goal went to really having to do with other people. Well, as soon as my goal went outward, it just doesn't stop. It keeps growing.
Just explodes, right? Because then you're serving others and you're asking how you can serve, and all of that comes back. And it's been, I'm also a big, product of that as well. Aaron, is what can you do to serve others? And then that creates some incredible synergy. What's one of your favorite business or motivational quotes?
I always have one on hand. That's interesting that I don't have one at the moment. Yeah, it's one's going to pop up here in a minute, more than likely. But I really don't. Yeah, good question, because I have tons of them. I actually, I think that more than a motivational quote, because I do have a lot of them that I love. But my mind just went blank on that. But I like what Napoleon Hill said, in his principles, where he closes some of his principles with a prayer. Have you ever seen his verbal principles where he talks about? He goes, he asked not for more riches, but for more more wisdom to make wiser use of the riches that he was given at birth, which is the ability to control his mind and to focus on the righteous ends that he desires.
Man,
that's massive. We have such great creativity and capability, but the problem is we're too busy thinking about things and thinking about us, and realizing that we are our greatest asset. And the second people get that understanding about us being the asset, and that we've already been built with everything we need, it's all there. We just got to tap into it. It changes you.
It does, man. Do you have any books that you recommend? The ones that
yes.
Really
yes. The one that I read all the time, every single day, is called The Master Key System by Charles Haanel. In fact, I have it here.
Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Got it on audible too. Yeah.
So as you can see here, I got all flagged up. I got all kinds of marked up. You can see all the underlines in there. This every single day is what I read. Napoleon Hill referenced it. It was written in 1910 as a correspondence course, that you need to go through the same lesson every day for a week and then do the exercise every day. And I've noticed that has completely changed how I look at things. Other 3 books that have been absolutely pivotal. Everybody's, Think and Grow Rich. I'm not going to name it because you already should know it, but Napoleon Hill did 2 other ones. Outwitting the Devil in 2011. Have you read that one?
I have. Yep.
And how about Wisdom of Success, which was his the transcription with him and Andrew Carnegie?
No, I haven't read that one.
That one's awesome. The Wisdom of Success was phenomenal. And then Dr. Joe Dispenza's book, which is Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself.
Yeah. Great.
Real deep stuff.
I'm going to put this in the show notes, especially I got the link for Joe Dispenza as well for the TED Talk. So
you got the TED Talk for Tacoma?
Yeah, but I want you to send it over anyway. It's one that
very cool.
On his YouTube. Lee Wiggins has it up. But okay. That's good. Do you use mobile apps, Aaron?
I do have a mobile app, and what I do is I have a lot of folks just for right now, the easiest way I do that is have them just text me their phone number, and then I just have a mobile app go out. Their name. Just text me their name or an email address, and then I have my assistant send out the mobile app. Or I'm trying to figure out a better way to do that, because usually I'm sending that out from a speech and not on a podcast.
Do you use a mobile app in your business on a daily basis?
No, not yet. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
Okay.
I need to get better about a lot of the technology. I'm still hammering chisel. Dude, I literally agreed to a Facebook yesterday. In fact, I wore a suit 2 weeks ago. So I wore a suit. I was in Washington meeting with senators and Congresswoman Waters' chief of staff. I've agreed to a Facebook. I've agreed to a few other things for marketing, and I'm actually starting that show I was telling you about. And I'm like, dude, this is so anti-Aaron Chapman that it's like, I don't know if I'm committed to building this business through the roof or I'm going to become the Antichrist. One of the two.
Oh, gosh. Do you get 8 hours of sleep at night?
I do because I fall asleep. I believe at about like 9:30 every day, but I do wake up at about 4:30. I try to. Lately, I've been back and forth each side of the country so much lately that it's hard for me to get up at that 4:30. So it's getting around 5:15 now.
Yeah, there's a lag there. What do you have as your morning ritual?
So when I wake up, immediately go to prayer, and I learned at some point. Well, I can just share it real quick if we have some time.
Yeah.
You've heard my story about the practical application of gratitude.
Yeah.
Where, there was a point where I had a new employee. She was younger in her early 20s. And when I hired her, I put her just right at a base rate. And she was taking on a new role. So we had no idea what to pay her at that role because she was, we're looking to use her to build off of.
Right.
And then we decided after about 90 days, we'd reevaluate her income. So when it got time to reevaluate, some things went bad with the partnership, and I had to really start over. I had a partner that just gutted me and left me. Yeah, it seemed like he snuck around and tore everything away from me when I wasn't looking. I had to start over with them. So it went to 6 months, and we finally had that opportunity to sit down and look at that. But I was trying to decide, what do you pay somebody?
Yeah.
Now, if you look across basically across business, they say 2 to 3% increase in wage, right? Well, what I had found was that just wasn't enough. It seemed almost insulting. So I decided at a number, and I ran that in. Look, it was over 10%. Then I was looking at a 30% bump in her bonus. Well, I mentioned that to a friend of mine who was an executive Expedia. She goes, "Good luck. That doesn't happen." Then I took it to my executive VP. He's like, "We can't do that." And I said, "Well, what would it take?" So he explained what it takes. So it took me 2 weeks to do a ton of research and look at what she had done and how she'd implemented things to make us more successful. I wrote up this big old narrative. I sent it in. Well, it came back approved, which I was freaking excited about. So I couldn't wait to bring her in and show her what we had accomplished. Sat her down, went over all the things that she had done to create systems and how she had made a difference. And then I told her what we were going to do for her. Really excited to see the response. Well, she responded to that with kind of a twisted look on her face. She's like, "That's it?" She goes, "I would have thought you could do better than that." So, Corey, I'll ask you, what does your gut say in that? Well, how would you respond if there was no rules? You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, the person's not appreciative. You kind of feel like you get slapped in the face.
Exactly. I was so darn angry. I wanted to say, "Well, sometimes you don't get this. In fact, you don't even get your job. Get the hell out." I was that mad. But I calmed it down, turned it into a coaching moment. Well, later that week, I was exiting the freeway coming to the office, and there was a homeless guy standing on the side of the off ramp holding his sign, and something about him just really kind of got to me. And so I reached where I was hiding money in the truck. I always hide money in my vehicles because of what I shared with you earlier about having to walk that parking lot. So my cards wouldn't work. And I reached there and I rolled down the window. I held it out. He walked up, accepted the bill, said thank you, and started to walk away. And as he opened it up, he turned and held it up. He looked at me and goes, "Are you serious, man?" I'm like, "Yeah, why?" He goes, "This is $20, man." I'm like, "Yeah, it's yours." He comes back. He reached up, takes my hand, pulls it towards his chest, bows his head and says a prayer of thanks to God and asks for a blessing on me. And at this time when he's doing this, I'm getting this overwhelming feeling of guilt that I didn't have more to give. And as he finishes his prayer, he looks up at me with tears streaming down his cheeks and thanks me profusely for changing his life.
Yeah.
So we're
appreciative.
Exactly, I would have willingly given him $10,000 right then if I had that cash on me. Well, by then the light turns green, and Arizona drivers, being as patient as they are, were hitting the horn. So I took off and we exchanged God bless yous as I started to leave, and it hit me. It's like, that's the practical application of gratitude. On one hand, this person over here, I think I gave her nearly a $10,000 a year increase, and she spat in my face. I wanted it all back.
Yeah,
you don't get nothing.
Yep.
This other guy, $20, I would have willingly given him the 10 grand for his gratitude, right?
Yeah.
So then I learned from that. And I had heard Dean Graziosi speak at an event where he said, "You don't get out of bed without 3 new things to be grateful for." Well, after a few weeks, that exercise gets to where you're going over the same things, right? But then it hit me one day. I was like, there we are. I was taught what I should be doing when it comes to gratitude. So now my assistant Samantha brings me the list of names of the people who were referred to us. and who did the referrals. And I take that list home with me. So when I have prayer in the morning, part of that ritual is to ask a prayer of thanks to God for these people brought in my life, and a blessing upon them and their businesses. And then from there, I go make strong ass coffee that I can stand, the strongest I can stand. I go sit down at my chair and I start to read. I start with scripture. Well, actually, I start with Darren Hardy's Darren Daily. Then I go to scripture. Then I go to the Master Key System right here. And then I'll read another book, and then I'll do a workout before I go to the office every single day.
Wow. I mean, it's pretty powerful. I mean, think about basically starting your day with the mindset of how you can help others, right? And
precisely.
People think they start the day with how they can help themselves. So that's,
well, and interestingly enough, that gratitude aspect, something I've discovered with all the 10 commandments, all the commandments that come through from God, they're all to help you. We think that it's for other people, but in reality, it's all benefiting us.
mm-hmm.
And it really boils down to trust, right? Anything that you violate there is violating the trust with your fellow man. You violate the trust with your fellow man, you have nothing. So once you realize that is just a roadwork to make it easier for you to navigate this messed up environment we live in, to make you happier and actually able to make your way through it easier, then you realize they're not restrictive. It's actually a benefit to you, and it's really almost like the ultimate plan of selfishness. How do you make your life easier? Just do this.
Right. Yeah. It's open up. What are you most grateful for?
People, others. Seriously, it's everything that I have in my life that is good has to do with somebody else.
That's beautiful, man. I love that.
Nothing in my life is great that has to do with me. If it's all about Aaron, I'm never satisfied. But when I'm interacting with others, and when they take of their time and their energy to benefit, to help me, that's my life is just exponentially better.
If you had to summarize it, like what gets you out of bed in the morning? What is the thing that really is, why is it you do what you do?
Because there's somebody out there that's potentially going to get taken advantage of if I don't pick up that phone. So I can't have that.
You want to be the solution provider to help someone and the rescuer from harm's way.
Pretty much. My wife and I served 9 years with the Sheriff's Office Rescue Division, and there's been a lot of great opportunities I've had to, be sent down a 680-foot cliff to retrieve a hung up base jumper. We've had people whose plane crashes, how we had to recover bodies, unfortunately, for the family and things like that. And it was, people rolled their vehicles deep in the desert and we had to cut them out of it, things like that. And so, I lived a life of physical rescue. Now this is more than that. When you're talking about being able to pass on mindset,
mental rescue.
Oh yeah, we're rescuing people from a world of short-sightedness, of being pigeonholed into a box, of inability to have a future, and also we're talking about our kids too. You know darn well what I'm doing with my kids, because you're an integral part of what is going to happen there if something happens to me and my wife. And I think we get into that into another podcast. But I'm very, very, very worried about what the next generation does. It was Niall Ferguson. I don't think that he and I agree 100% on politics, but I agree with him on something very significant about our society. Before the World War II, every generation seemed to have an unwritten contract with the coming generation to make the world better for them, right? Then you get to World War II and things changed. After that, when the baby boomers came about, they started slowly, unknowingly or unwittingly, taking from the next generation. So now we're $20 to $30 trillion in debt, right? We have gone reverse on our contract. I can't reverse the entire contract that has been violated, but I can reverse it for my kids. So I've instituted that trust. That also requires that they get involved and they do some things themselves. And we'll go into greater detail in the future. But that is another big thing of mine that I'm working with Professor Abernathy over at Kennesaw State University to teach the next generation. To teach them when they come out of their accounting, the school, and they have that degree, they have to go about it differently than what has been done in the past. And we're trying to change that one person at a time. And that's what gets me out of bed.
Man, you have a big heart, big mission, and it's so much bigger than business for you. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why you're really successful. What's the way that people can serve you? Like, how can we serve you? What's the best way to get in touch with you? What is it you really, really would love to have? How can we help you?
Well, AaronBChapman.com is the best way to connect with me, because that will always be out there. Right. I also had Aaron B. Chapman. I also finally was able to purchase AaronChapman.com. I just don't have it up online yet. So, and cool. Really the best way to serve me, if you will, is really just allow me to serve you. That's really it. My ability to help you to build your investment business is what I'm about. That's what I want, because it not only does it serve you as the individual investor, it serves the home seller, right? It serves the property manager, it serves the title company, it serves the insurance company, it serves Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, the general public, the company I hang my license with, Security National Mortgage Company. It serves my staff. That one transaction serves hundreds of people. And I consider myself the hub of that wheel. And if one single spoke breaks, the entire wheel's at risk. So my job is to ensure everybody has equal bearing, or at least equal load, as well as equal benefit. And if anybody in that is at risk, I can't have it. So when it comes to that, when you ask how does one serve me, it's really not serving me. It's how do you help you by allowing me to help you.
Man, awesome, Aaron. Appreciate you so much for doing this and taking the time. I know you're busy, and we're going to put all this information in the show notes. So you're going to be getting calls, people that want to work with you, that are tired of hitting brick walls, and the fact that you can be creative, you understand a real estate investor's mindset, I think it sets you apart in a huge way. So thanks again, man. Appreciate you being on here.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you taking the time. I look forward to the next one.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again for being on Real Estate Investing Profit Masters. Make sure you attend another interview where we're going to bring incredible guests just like Aaron to teach you the best that they have. Bye now.
Hi, this is Corey Boatwright, and I have a quick question for you. What is the fastest way to reach your goals? Is it to work harder, work smarter, use system and processes, or hire rock star employees? What about just making more money? Actually, it's none of that. Those things are a byproduct of the one success component that every real estate investor or business owner that I know all have in common. And the answer is clarity. Complete laser focus on what you want, why you want it, and what are you willing to do to get it. So where do you find clarity? By hiring a coach and mentor. Now, could you reach the level of success that you want to achieve by doing this all on your own? The Lone Ranger. Well, maybe, but do you think it would take you double or even triple the time to achieve it compared to hiring a coach and mentor to help guide your path, provide proven instruction with a tailored blueprint that you could follow for building a real estate business that supports your lifestyle and helps you reach your financial and personal goals? Absolutely. Here's the fact. Time isn't recyclable. So I would like to ask you to make good use of it and extend a personal invitation for you to book a phone coaching strategy session by going to callwithcorey.com. That's callwithcorey, Corey spelled CORY.com. I'm going to ask you a few quick questions on that page, and we're going to go over and see how we can make sure that your business is on path to reach the goals that you want this year. So go to callwithcorey.com, that's CORY, and book your phone coaching strategy session today. Remember, be a servant, and I'll see you on there.
You've been listening to another Real Estate Investing Profits Master Podcast Series. To receive your free real estate book, Down and Dirty, Ultimate Real Estate Investing Quick Start Guide, how to quit your job to start flipping houses in 90 days or less, head online and go to realestateinvestingprofits.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/Real Estate Investing Profits. Thanks again for listening, and stay tuned for our next episode.